And as we'll settle in, I am ready to announce the next upcoming session. NATO is entering a pivotal phase, orienting itself to ensure it preserves its strength and relevance amid shifting geopolitical dynamics. In this upcoming session, we will look into what future the United States will play in NATO. How are allies living up to their security commitments? And what is expected as leaders gather today at NATO's summit? Tune in for a strategic conversation coming up on transatlantic solidarity. To guide this important conversation, I am pleased to hand it over to Florence Gaub, Director of the Research Division at the NATO Defense College. Florence?
Yeah.
The floor is yours.
Okay.
I'm going to listen? Okay. Perfect.
Good morning, everyone.
They told us what to do.
Exactly.
They
They told me you go in first, and then I'm first. So it's a bit confusing, but we're here. Thank you so much for joining me on stage today. I understand you're a very coveted person right now. You have very little time to think about anything else, and we only have 15 minutes, so off we go.
Oh, we got.
You have to talk very
that's
fast.
a luxury.
In your book, that's a luxury. What are American expectations when it comes to the summit?
Well, I think I've been pretty clear in communicating sort of what we expect, and President Trump and the White House have been consistent as well. We want 5% on defense and defense-related spending, and I think we are at this moment going to get all allies on board on that, and it's a historic moment. It's probably one of the most consequential moments in this alliance's history. And what we're going to see is we're going to see a renaissance of our defense industries, both here on the European continent and in North America with Canada and the US. You're going to see a recommitment not only to Article 5, but Article 3 as well, which says that each country will invest in the collective defense, but also the individual defense. And so if you're going to see countries that have unique needs that they'll have to address, and at the same time, because of what you heard the previous panel talking about, the innovation, the defense manufacturing base, all of those things working together, we're going to have a strong alliance. We're going to have a lethal alliance, and most importantly, that strength is what's going to deliver peace for generations to come, because no one will want to mess with NATO and the alliance. And so it's a very exciting moment. I'm honored to be here as the United States ambassador to NATO. And we've accomplished a lot in the less than 90 days that I've been here, and the less than 6 months this administration's been in place.
So in the last 6 months, there's been, I'm not going to say it's an elephant in the room because everybody's been talking about...
You're not calling me an elephant.
No.
I'm not that big. Goodness gracious.
I did say crack a joke, so thank you for doing that. No, but the question is, of course, the future of the alliance, and how do the United States see the future of NATO? I know you know that the press has been going crazy a little bit. Can you just give me the truth?
Well, that's kind of their job, right? The press goes crazy no matter what we say. But I think we've been very clear. We, as the United States of America, and you look at kind of how we are deployed globally, you look at the strategic challenges that the United States faces on an ever more dangerous world. And I see this transition to Europe taking over primary responsibility for the traditional defense of Europe, a project that's been 76 years, almost 77 years in the making. I think this is a real moment. And at the same time, the United States isn't going anywhere, and I've said that many times, and I know you've heard me say it. The United States is going to be a reliable ally, and as you've seen over the last several days, the United States capability that only the United States and what we've built as a military can do. And at the same time, we have other countries that bring unique talents and abilities as well. And so I think that's what the 32 allies bring and what NATO can do and how it can ensure. Again, the United States is about peace. President Trump is a peacemaker. And if there's now peace between Israel and Iran. We're hoping that we can get to a peace deal in the Ukraine war, which is just awful, and there's no military solution for that, and so we need peace there as well. And President Trump and together with our allies brought peace between Pakistan and India. I mean, there's just there's so many places. We want everybody to flourish. We want all of humankind on the planet to prosper and to achieve what they possibly can without conflict, without war. But at the same time, the way you bring that peace, as we saw with our B-2 bombers flying from Kansas City, which is just south of where I grew up, all the way to Iran, delivering precision strikes and returning all within 30 hours and pretty much ending the conflict at that point in time, I think shows kind of how you get that peace is through that strength. And that strength is amplified and enhanced by this alliance, and because again we are only as strong as our weakest link, and if all of these countries elevate, get stronger, invest in their defense, I think we will have again peace for generations.
I think it's a very important message for mostly Europeans because they constantly worry about American engagement and is there a NATO without the US, et cetera,
We've never been more engaged. That's the thing I sound like a broken record, and I'm sure there are people in this room that have heard me say this in many different places, whether it's in Estonia or Latvia or in Turkey, wherever I've been. The United States isn't going anywhere. We're expecting our European allies to step up, to be equal partners with us in the alliance. And again, that strength with all of us, all 32 allies, is what's going to deliver that peace. But the United States is here to stay.
So the section said this morning in this room, actually, stop worrying about the Americans and instead focus on investing on defense, which brings me to my next...
It's a great message.
It's a good message, right? I think it deserves to be re-emphasized. You mentioned the last few months since you've been in your post, you've worked tirelessly, of course, also on increasing allied commitments. What are your observations on the other allies moving in that front, increased investment, defense spending, etc.?
Yeah, well, I think we've seen tremendous steps forward. And even before this commitment that we hope is going to be agreed to by all 32 allies tomorrow in the North Atlantic Council, I think you've seen countries moving out. If you've seen hundreds of billions of dollars spent. I think most importantly, and I think one of the things that I think has been driving this has been Germany. Germany stepping up and deciding that they're going to remilitarize, that they're going to take their rightful leadership spot in Europe. I think that is a good development. I think that is driving the UK and France and some of the other big economies, Italy, to really lean forward in their military capabilities, and that's good for the alliance. That makes a strong Europe, a strong NATO, and again, I just have to reemphasize that strength is what's going to guarantee the peace and deter our allies, because again, this is a very dangerous world right now we're living in, and I think the NATO alliance is more relevant today than probably it ever has been since the end of the Cold War.
I don't know if you remember this, but a few years ago, actually, I think almost a decade ago, one of the themes of a summit, I can't remember which one, was defense matters. I don't think today we're even questioning that. I think it's so obvious. Which takes me to, you just mentioned the B-52 bombers, to the obvious question, or not an obvious question, the obvious question I already asked you, the other question about the Middle East. We're sitting here in The Hague, we're talking a lot about transatlantic security, European security, but of course the Middle East is one of the neighbors, regions of NATO's. How do the events of the last few days influence the discussions that you're having at the summit?
Well, I think on the one hand, it's a slight overlay, compared to whatever other hot conflict is the focus. But because of the decisive action by President Trump, and because of the American ability to project power on behalf of ourselves and our allies, I think that has really reminded everyone why we need to make sure that everyone's investing in the common defense of the alliance. But I don't want to get ahead of the president. The president is probably going to be getting on a plane here just shortly, and we're expecting that he might deliver some remarks. And so I don't want to sort of like steal what he might say, nor do I claim to be able to read his mind and know what he's going to say, but I think he is, he is through around the world. But I think this was a moment where President Trump has really shown some leadership in making the right decision at the right time that maybe has changed everyone's calculation and lead to that area of the world calming down. And again, that's good for Europe, as you know, because there's been a lot of irregular flows of migrants, through Europe from the Middle East because of the instability. And so hopefully with Syria now appearing to be stable, with Iran maybe in check a little more than they had been, I think we could really see a generational moment here where the Middle East is more stable than it has been in a while.
We have a few minutes left, so I can ask you a bonus question, actually.
Sure.
Don't worry, it won't be scary. In the last few months, what has surprised you in a positive way about your interaction with European counterparts?
Well, I haven't been surprised by anything, because ultimately countries and their representatives represent their national interests ultimately. I think the interesting thing about the multilateral relationship inside NATO is how collegial it is, and how much we work on a daily basis together with all of our allies. I think what I have been, sort of, if you're going to say surprised, what I've been mildly surprised with, but also expected, was just how willing everyone's been willing to roll up their sleeves and to actually, put pen to paper, get the work done, draft a statement to come out of this heads of state and heads of government meeting that is impactful, consequential, and historic. And so that's been refreshing, I think is the better word, instead of surprised. It's been refreshing to see everyone roll up their sleeves and really get to work. We didn't have a lot of time, so President Trump obviously was sworn in on January 20th. I was sworn in on April 2nd. And that hasn't not been a lot of time to get this done. But thankfully, 31 other allies, together with the U.S. mission in NATO and the great staff that I have there, we're already working on this. And I was able to step into the role and to continue to push it forward. And hopefully tomorrow we'll have again one of the most historic, consequential moments in the alliance history.
And we're looking forward to it. Thank you so much, Ambassador, for joining me here today. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the summit.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew Whitaker and Florence Gaub, for that insightful discussion.